But this presentation will really give you a flavor of what you would expect to experience at the Center for Innovation, as well as what we're trying to do with this interactive presentation today. So
can we just, if you've got any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat and then we can kind of address them as we go along. Sorry, just to interrupt at the beginning there.
No, that's fine. So when we talk about the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, it is as much of a space as it is a program. So here on the screen, you can see a little bit about our space. It is in the Richmond building, which is in the same building as the Student Union at the university. And it really is a purpose-built space. When we designed it a few years back now, we designed it together with our students and our staff to make it a space that genuinely inspired and sparked innovations and new conversations, but also that really enabled teamwork, because this is really a cornerstone of the way we work in the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. All of our programs are mostly, a lot of them are interactive. So for example, a class might be more workshop than it is lecture based. And the assessments that we have on the course as well are much more coursework based. So you're doing or completing a project and kind of reporting out on that project as part of the coursework, instead of traditional tests, especially on the innovation side of the degree program.
Point out, just obviously with COVID at the moment, we are still teaching in those spaces with some reduction in numbers and stuff, but hopefully by the time your kids your kids are going to be coming, it's going to be back to this. That's what we're kind of hoping. Either way, they'll still be able to make use of these facilities. So I just wanted to point that out.
So,
no problem.
So at the center, it's really about, it's less about preparing students for a specific job and more about preparing them to innovate. So we like to say that we're really looking to prepare students for jobs that don't exist yet, using technologies that may have not even been invented yet, and really helping them to find ways to be really agile and adaptable in this fast-paced and really rapidly changing world. One of the ways that we do that, Jenna, if you want to skip ahead once there. Yeah, perfect. One of the ways that we do that is through a really unique blend, which is a 4-year integrated master's degree where students from 14 different subject disciplines come together to study innovation and entrepreneurship. So that means in any one given year or given project, you might have a team of students studying anthropology, computer science, physics, and economics, all coming together to work on one specific challenge, for example, around improving transportation in the city. And within that challenge, they're using the skills that they're gaining in innovation around design thinking, around systems thinking, and around just working in really creative and agile ways.
And just a little point there, just in terms of the transdisciplinary thing, if we think back to our first cohort who have just graduated, the difference in their world and what they're going into is so huge, but the kind of the strength they have is this ability to learn, right? Ability to work with people. Also, there isn't really anyone else in the world that does this, that has that 4 years of working with that interdisciplinary team. It's what makes it so exciting. And we slightly demonstrate that in terms of the staff, but actually the strength is the students for us. 120 in a year that are just the top of the top in those subjects, and they add something more by working together. So that was all.
Yeah, so it really is, as Keir suggested, this place where students from really different backgrounds and disciplines are coming together to find new ways really to make positive change in the world. So the way we like to think about it is that graduates of the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship are really kind of these T-shaped graduates. So that means they have a really deep subject matter expertise in whatever that is, anthropology, film and television, but they're also really agile, innovative, and entrepreneurial, and they're able to really hit the ground running, working in interdisciplinary teams upon graduation. And to be honest, even before graduation, because we work with quite a lot of industry partners throughout the degree program. what this looks like in practice, if you want to skip one slide ahead, thank you. What this looks like in practice is that across the 4-year degree program, and they graduate with a master's degree in their core subject discipline with innovation, by the way. But across this 4-year program, they start out with a bit more time in their core subject discipline. It's more heavily weighted in these first 2 years towards that core subject because we really want them to gain that depth of knowledge and expertise in their core subject discipline, which they then bring back into the projects that they're working on in the center, and they're able to draw on those skills and experiences from their core subject discipline, bringing them into working with the rest of the team. So you might see the word transdisciplinary on some of the materials that are coming out, and it's really this concept of transdisciplinarity is really when all of those different subject disciplines are getting together, working in one team, that they're not only bringing their skills and expertise, but each individual is also growing and changing as a result of having that experience with others working in other disciplines. So as we move on to years 3 and 4, the balance shifts a little bit, so that in year 3, it's about 50-50 split, and in year 4, they have 80 credits, a little bit heavier weighted in innovation as they're working on their final project. And their final projects can be anything from a project that's working, an entrepreneurship project, as I would call it, where you're working inside of an existing organization, to maybe you're starting your own startup. And this year, in our first graduating cohort, I believe we had 3 startups coming out of our first graduating cohort. Is that right, Kier? Did I get the number right?
Yeah, I think it's 3. Yes. We've got Satis, which was, I'm going to get the names of the disciplines wrong here, but I think it was anthropology and history. So it was 2 women who have designed a female urinal, which sounds fairly simple, but it's incredibly complicated thing to do. I probably don't understand that quite as well as everyone else in this room. But what they're looking at is how you design a urinal that can be used as easily as a men's urinal, right? And how that then fits for festivals, events, but with a long-term goal of how that fits into international development. Because actually it's one of the really key innovations in the world is safety and hygiene for women. So it's something, yeah, I think we're really proud of. They also got, I think it was a 10 grand grant, award, and a year working with Set Squared, which is a incubator for businesses in Bristol. So they get to spend a year developing the project and working with others. The other one I was going to mention was Kadim, which is, again, I'm going to get this wrong, I think it's computer science and psychology. And it's a 3D delivery system. So it's a way of sketching 3D objects very quickly and creating assets, which they developed with Ardman through, I believe, was that a 3rd-year project or a live client brief? I can't remember. So they started with a project with Ardman through us, and that developed into an actual spin-off company that they've created. And again, they've had an award for this. They've had startup funding, and I think they're employing 3 people this year already, which slightly blows my mind. So yeah, I think they sort of shows this range also in terms of disciplines. The other thing is the staff here. We have such a broad range. We have everyone from a civil engineer who used to build giant wind turbines, to an interaction designer who exhibits all over the world, to an artist in me, to system designers. So we have a lot of networks and systems to help people start these things. So for example, the urinal, I have a friend who does major operations at Glastonbury for installing toilets. So they then were able to work on his farm and test it with him. But I just think that really exemplifies that kind of transdisciplinary thing we're talking about. It's not just you guys go and work together. We create a culture where we all work together, which is the thing that really excites us, which I think is kind of obvious from how excited I'm getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kier. Okay, if you'll go one more step forward. Yeah, thanks. I think that what all of this does is to kind of bring it together is it kind of brings us to our founding promise why the center was created to begin with, and that's really because we believe that the next generation of innovators are going to need to collaborate and work together, really bringing art, science, engineering, and humanities together with innovation and entrepreneurship in order to really make positive change and solve the world's toughest problems. So that's what we're setting out to do at the center. If you go one more forward, and this is the last slide, so we'll move on to questions next. But one of the things that we just like to touch on is to just highlight how what we hear from companies is that they need graduates that really have a great strength in their subject discipline and in that kind of core knowledge, but that are also able to really be adaptable, that they're able to solve problems, that they're able to work in these interdisciplinary teams, and equally important, that they're not afraid of failure, but that they are actually able to really learn from it and learn rapidly and use that to really shift the way that they're working and the way that they're innovating and solving challenges. So this is what we work with the students in order to help achieve.